Congratulations. Yes, congratulations, not because of luck, not because of chance, but because heaven has chosen you to hear this before the appointed time. If this word has reached you before the 24th of October, it is not an accident. It is a divine arrangement, a whisper from eternity cutting through the noise of your ordinary days. You are not just scrolling through another message, you are standing at a spiritual intersection, where divine purpose meets human awareness. For months, maybe even years, you have wondered if what you carry inside you still matters. You've prayed, waited, and questioned whether the silence meant that God had turned away. But listen, the silence was not abandonment. It was incubation. God hides what He is shaping. Just as a seed is buried before it bursts into light, you were hidden so that you could grow unseen, untouched, protected from premature exposure. Right now, heaven is stirring. The wind that once stilled is about to move again. The doors that resisted you are beginning to loosen from their hinges. The tide that seemed to retreat is gathering strength. Something unseen is aligning threads you could never connect by yourself or weaving into a pattern only the hand of God could design. This is not coincidence. Every encounter, every delay, every disappointment has been part of the preparation. God has been building you quietly, in the background, in places where applause could not reach and validation could not feed pride. You are not behind schedule, you are on heaven's clock. And now, as this message finds you, you are being summoned, not as a spectator, but as a participant in divine unfolding. This is your confirmation that heaven has taken note of your endurance. Every tear you shed in private has watered the soil of your destiny. Every prayer whispered in exhaustion has been logged in heaven's archive of faith. The wait has not been wasted, it has been working. But hear me clearly, this word was not sent to entertain your curiosity. It was sent to awaken your spirit. The days ahead will carry a spiritual weight, and you must be conscious enough to walk with reverence. Between now and the 24th, a window is opened not for fear, not for superstition, but for divine synchronization. God is inviting you into alignment with what He has already decreed. If lately you have felt restless, uneasy, sensing something shifting though you cannot explain it, it is not your imagination. Your spirit feels the pull of what heaven is preparing before your eyes see it. God often stirs your soul before He rearranges your circumstances. So, do not be alarmed if the shaking intensifies. The shaking is not meant to break you. It is meant to detach you from what cannot go forward with you. Some people may drift away. Let them. Some doors may close. Bless them. When God rebuilds, He first clears the ground. What feels like collapse is actually construction. The walls coming down are not signs of failure but proof that God is making space for expansion. You asked Him to open new doors, and He is answering, but sometimes the first step toward open doors is the closing of old ones. You prayed for breakthrough, and heaven heard you, but breakthrough often begins with breaking. You wanted increase, but increase requires pruning. What you lose in this hour will only make room for what is meant to last. Therefore, guard your heart from panic. Guard your thoughts from fear. The enemy cannot cancel what God has ordained, but he will try to delay it through distraction. He will whisper lies of doubt, stir storms of anxiety, and use familiar voices to plant seeds of discouragement. But you, child of God, must stand firm. When confusion rises, speak clarity. When fear approaches, speak faith. When silence stretches, speak praise. Your obedience in this season is not small. Heaven measures faith by endurance, not convenience. Every time you choose to trust instead of complain, you shift something in the unseen. Every time you say God is still good, while nothing looks good, you testify before angels and demons alike that your faith is not for sale. The 24th of October is not just a date on a calendar, it is a doorway. Something is aligning in the spiritual realm, and this message is the knock before the opening. The Lord is preparing to accelerate what has long been stagnant. The delay that mocked you will turn into divine momentum. The very places that humiliated you will soon display His glory. But to step into that flow, you must remain anchored in gratitude. Gratitude is spiritual gravity. It pulls miracles toward you. When you thank God for what you have not yet seen, heaven sees that you are ready. Gratitude reveals faith, and faith is the currency of the invisible kingdom. So as you hear these words, let your heart respond. Say within yourself, Lord, I am ready. Whatever you are aligning, align me too. Whatever you are preparing, prepare me too. Whatever you are blessing, let me be found faithful among it. Do not fear what you cannot understand. The God who sculpted galaxies holds your tomorrow. Even your detours are divine. Even your waiting is holy. Soon you will look back and realize that every no was guarding a greater yes, every closed path was preserving your destiny, and every lonely night was teaching you how to walk by faith and not by sight. Hold fast. This is not the end, this is the unveiling before elevation. God has chosen you to hear this, not later, but now, because the time for awakening has come. The shift has begun. Now that you have heard the call, let your spirit settle into the awareness that nothing about this moment is random. Every event, every face, every detour was part of the invisible choreography of God. You are stepping into the realization that His silence was not the absence of power but the presence of process. The delay you cursed was the discipline He blessed you with. He was not ignoring you, He was investing in you. For too long, you measured your progress
progress by motion. You thought if you were not moving forward, you were losing ground. But divine timing is not like human pacing. God does not measure movement by visibility.
Some of his most profound work happens in stillness. While you were questioning, he was constructing. While you were crying, he was cultivating. The season that felt like stagnation was actually saturation, your roots growing deeper for the fruit to last longer. Understand this, when God hides you, he is protecting you from premature exposure.
Many have been destroyed by blessings they were not yet ready to hold. But you, beloved, have been hidden on purpose.
God was guarding your potential until the appointed time, and that time is drawing near.
Between now and the 24th, you will begin to sense the acceleration.
It will not come through noise or chaos, it will come through clarity, through a quiet knowing that you are ready.
The enemy fears your awareness more than your warfare.
He trembles when you finally realize who you are in God. That's why confusion has followed you, not because you are weak, but because you are dangerous to darkness.
The closer you get to your divine unveiling, the louder the distractions will grow.
But remember, the enemy cannot curse what God has blessed. He can only convince the blessed to stop believing.
So, stay focused. Guard your mind like holy ground.
Don't let gossip, comparison, or self-doubt poison your spirit.
The mental battle you are fighting right now is a sign that spiritual promotion is near. You are not going crazy, you are being stretched. Heaven is expanding your capacity to carry what's coming. What you are feeling is the tension between the old season releasing you and the new one pulling you forward. Let this truth anchor you. Pressure is proof of promise. The enemy doesn't attack emptiness. He attacks vessels full of destiny.
When you feel the heaviness, remind yourself that diamonds are born under pressure, and oil flows only when the olive is crushed.
You are not being punished, you are being processed, and the process is holy.
Before the 24th, there will be moments when you feel the urge to quit, when tiredness, fear, or disappointment whisper that maybe you misheard God. But I tell you, that whisper is the test before the triumph. God often waits until you are closest to breakthrough to see if you will still believe without evidence. When your faith has no visible reason to stand, that's when heaven begins to move. Every divine miracle begins with divine contradiction. Think about it, Moses had to face the Red Sea before it parted.
Daniel had to enter the lion's den before deliverance appeared.
The disciples had to endure the storm before they saw Jesus walking on the water.
You too must endure this contradiction, the space between promise and manifestation, without losing your praise.
And when you feel the shaking intensify, do not misread it as failure. God shakes what cannot stay so that what must remain can stand firm.
The shaking is not punishment, it's purification. He is refining you, filtering out fear, pride, and dependency on people so that you may emerge purified, focused, and fearless. You cannot carry the old you into the new assignment. The version of you that survived the last season is not the same version that will thrive in this one. Listen closely. God is not just changing your circumstances, He is changing your identity. The labels others placed on you will no longer fit. The patterns that once defined you will break. The familiar will begin to feel foreign, because heaven is pulling you higher.
You will notice your appetite changing. What used to satisfy you will no longer feed you. That is the spirit of transformation at work. The divine timeline is accelerating, and heaven is aligning resources in your favor. Somewhere, right now, your name is being mentioned in rooms you've never entered. Decisions are being shaped, opportunities are being prepared, and connections are forming, all in silence, all in precision.
The God who orchestrates galaxies is aligning details for your next chapter.
But you must do your part.
Keep your heart clean. Do not carry bitterness into your blessing. Bitterness blocks flow. Forgive those who hurt you, even if they never repent. Release those who left, even if they never explained.
God will handle justice. Your role is obedience.
The more you release, the lighter you become, and the lighter you are, the faster you move in the spirit.
In this window of preparation, choose silence over reaction.
Choose stillness over haste. The loudest voice is not always the one speaking, it is often the one listening.
In stillness, God will speak again.
In quietness, direction will come. This is why you have felt isolated.
It was not rejection, it was refinement. When God wants to do something sacred in you, He removes you from noise.
The crowd cannot understand the call,
and the call cannot be birthed in chaos. He took you aside, not because you were unworthy, but because you were chosen for something weighty.
Look at your life and you will see His fingerprints everywhere.
The doors that closed were mercy.
The people who walked away were protection.
The prayers that seemed unanswered were redirections. God's hand has never left you. He was simply working in ways your eyes could not interpret. And now, as the 24th approaches, heaven's clock strikes closer to your unveiling.
Do not rush. Do not doubt.
The soil has been watered, the seed has been buried, and the harvest is near.
Stay planted. Stay believing. What is invisible today will be undeniable tomorrow.
For the same God who called you is faithful to complete what He began. The same power that sustained you in silence will soon shout through your story. You will see that every unanswered question was a seed of revelation waiting to bloom in its season.
This is that season. This is that time. Do not fear the shift.
Embrace it. Because what God is about to do will not just change your situation, it will redefine your life.
You are now
standing on sacred ground, the threshold between what was and what will be. Every choice you make in these days of preparation matters. Heaven is watching not to judge, but to measure readiness. God is not testing your strength, He is testing your surrender. Because what is coming next will not be sustained by willpower, but by obedience.
Many cry out for miracles yet ignore the instruction that unlocks them. But this time is different.
This is the hour of alignment, the moment where small acts of faith open vast doors of destiny. When God moves, He does not require your perfection, only your participation.
You are not being asked to understand every detail, only to trust the direction. Look carefully at your life. You will notice patterns breaking. Habits that once held you will lose their grip. People who once defined your peace will no longer have that power. This is what happens when heaven reorders your steps.
The Spirit of God is untangling you from the unnecessary so that you may move freely into what is essential. The pruning may feel painful, but it is purposeful. And understand this, what you call loss, heaven calls liberation. The detours you resent are actually the roads that lead to your divine encounter.
God is too intentional to waste your pain.
He is too loving to let you remain in what no longer fits. You have prayed for new beginnings, but new beginnings require endings. The door of the old season is closing, and the hand of God Himself is turning the key. As that door shuts, another one will open, and it will not require you to knock, it will open automatically when you arrive. Because when you walk in divine timing, doors recognize your assignment before you even touch them. Every delay, every rejection, every disappointment was heaven adjusting the coordinates of your journey so that your next yes would lead to your destined there.
Be careful how you interpret this phase.
Not all silence is stillness, and not all movement is progress.
The Spirit may be pulling you into prayer when your flesh wants to act. Do not confuse divine pauses with inactivity. God's pauses are holy calibrations.
They ensure you do not arrive too soon. The promise is ready, but sometimes the vessel is still maturing. You may have felt as though time was slipping away, as if life has passed you by.
But heaven does not measure seasons by calendars. Heaven measures them by readiness. The 24th is not the deadline of destiny. It is the marking of a moment, a signal that the wheel of heaven is turning, and that those who are alert will feel the momentum before others see the movement. Do not chase signs. Signs follow those who walk in obedience.
Your role is not to predict the how, but to prepare for the what.
Preparation is faith in action.
It is building the ark before the rain, praising before the breakthrough, sowing before the harvest. The world calls it foolishness, heaven calls it foresight.
When Noah built the ark, there was no evidence of rain. When Abraham left his homeland, there was no map.
When Mary said yes, there was no guarantee the world would believe her.
Faith has never required proof, only trust.
So, walk boldly even when visibility is low. God will not allow you to step into a place He has not already prepared.
In this sacred hour, guard your confession.
Words are seeds, and in this soil of alignment, every seed bears fruit faster than before.
Speak what you seek, not what you fear.
Say, peace is mine, even when chaos surrounds you. Declare, provision is coming, even when your hands are empty.
Heaven responds to faith-filled language.
What you decree in faith will soon appear in form. Be very careful with your atmosphere.
In times of divine transition, your surroundings carry multiplied influence. Keep company with those who speak life. Distance yourself from those who magnify fear.
Energy is contagious. Choose your environment like you choose your future, intentionally. And remember, divine acceleration begins with inner transformation. Before God expands your influence, He will purify your intentions. He will test what you truly desire.
Do you seek blessings to boast or blessings to bless? Do you want elevation for validation or for purpose? God is purging ambition so that only authenticity remains. If you sense old wounds surfacing, it's because He is healing them, not to expose you, but to free you. You cannot step into new territory carrying the residue of offense.
Release the memories that replay pain.
Every time you replay them, you replant them. Uproot them once and for all by forgiveness. Forgiveness is not weakness, it's wisdom.
It says, you no longer control the atmosphere of my heart. There is a divine principle at play. God will never promote a heart still poisoned by the past. The pure in heart see God, and those who see God walk in favor. Let purity be your priority in these days. When your heart is clean, you recognize His fingerprints in everything. Before the 24th, heaven is stirring specific instructions in your spirit. They may come through whispers, through dreams, through scripture, or through sudden moments of revelation.
Pay attention. Write down what you sense. The smallest instruction may hold the largest outcome. Obedience is the gate between revelation and realization. Do not rush to share everything God reveals. Some revelations are meant to be incubated, not announced. Announcing prematurely exposes what should have been protected. The enemy cannot destroy what he does not know about.
Learn to treasure the secret things of God in silence until He says, now.
The days ahead will require discernment.
Many voices will rise, some claiming to speak truth, others wrapped in manipulation.
But your spirit will know. Peace is the voice of God. Confusion is not. When something feels forced, step back. When it carries divine ease, step forward. The Spirit leads with clarity, not chaos. And above all, Remember, you were not chosen for comfort. You were chosen for purpose. Destiny demands discipline.
If you remain steadfast, if you walk faithfully in these final days before the divine turning, you will witness what happens when heaven converges with earth, not by coincidence, but by covenant.
This is your hour of alignment. The unseen is beginning to respond. Your obedience is pulling miracles closer. Heaven is not preparing the blessing anymore. Heaven is preparing you to hold it. The air around you is shifting. You can feel it even when you cannot explain it.
There is a divine hum, a sacred electricity moving through your spirit, signaling that something long awaited is beginning to stir.
You have reached the threshold of transformation, the point where what was prophesied begins to materialize. Yet before the visible changes arrive, the invisible alignment must finish its work. Every great move of God begins quietly. The seed of revival starts not in noise, but in stillness. The change you will soon witness is being conceived in silence, in prayers you thought went unanswered, in tears you thought went unnoticed, in moments you thought were wasted. Heaven wastes nothing. Even your pain was recycled into purpose. Every season that bruised you has become oil that will now anoint you.
But here lies the mystery. When God begins to elevate a person, He does not announce it with thunder. He begins by adjusting your posture. That restlessness you felt, that urge to release old habits, that hunger to seek more of Him, that is the Spirit preparing you for the new level. The transformation you are entering is not cosmetic, it is foundational. God is not repainting the walls of your life. He is rebuilding the structure itself.
This rebuilding requires honesty. Before destiny reveals you, it refines you. You must confront the versions of yourself that were born out of fear, disappointment, or survival. You can no longer live from the wounds of yesterday. You cannot enter a divine season carrying emotional debris. God's new wine cannot flow into old skins, not because He withholds it, but because He refuses to waste it. Let the Spirit clean you from within.
Allow Him to rewire your thoughts, to replace anxiety with assurance, to exchange worry for worship. You have carried too much on your shoulders, burdens that were never yours to bear. God never asked you to fix everything. He asked you to trust Him with everything.
Surrender does not mean defeat, it means direction.
It is the act of handing over the pen so that the author can finish his story without your edits. As the 24th approaches, understand that obedience will be your compass.
The path will not always be logical, but it will be clear. God's instructions may not make sense, but they will make progress.
You might be called to take a step that feels small, but small steps are the language of faith. Every time you act in obedience, you are prophesying your own breakthrough. Be careful not to look backward.
Nostalgia is a subtle enemy. It keeps you emotionally tied to what no longer exists.
When God calls you forward, He expects you to release backward. Lot's wife turned into salt not because she glanced behind her, but because she longed for what God had left behind.
You cannot crave Egypt and expect to enter Canaan. Detach from what was. Fix your gaze on what is coming. Many people will not understand your withdrawal in this season. They will think you've changed, and they will be right. The Spirit is separating you for something sacred. Separation always precedes elevation.
When God begins to move you to higher ground, He must first remove the weights that keep you grounded. Let go of the familiar voices, the draining patterns, the endless need to explain yourself.
Silence is sometimes the loudest obedience. Do not confuse humility with hiding. This is not the time to shrink back in false modesty.
This is the time to walk boldly, not arrogantly, but confidently, knowing that grace has gone ahead of you. Humility is not silence, it is stewardship. It is the courage to use what God placed in you without seeking applause for it.
Your anointing was not given for performance but for purpose.
In the days to come, you will sense an internal stirring, a renewal of dreams that once seemed dead.
Do not dismiss them.
They are not coincidences, they are confirmations.
God is reactivating visions buried under disappointment.
You gave up because you thought the timing had passed, but the timing was simply being perfected. The dream never died, it was resting.
There will also be signs, small yet undeniable. Conversations that reaffirm your calling. Encounters that reignite your faith. Words that strike your spirit with supernatural familiarity. Pay attention.
When the Spirit speaks, He repeats patterns until you notice.
Heaven has been whispering, it's time.
At this threshold, patience is your weapon. The temptation to rush ahead will grow stronger, but every premature move carries unnecessary warfare.
Let God open the door.
You do not need to force what grace has already scheduled. If a situation resists your effort, it is not yours to hold. God never hides what He intends for you to chase. He hides what He intends to protect.
There is a divine rhythm in motion.
You will know you are walking in step with it when peace accompanies your decisions. Anxiety signals misalignment. Peace is the voice of heaven saying, stay here. When your choices flow with peace, they flow with power. And remember this truth: God is not calling you to survive anymore. He is calling you to steward. You have passed the season of mere endurance. Now comes the season of governance, where you no longer pray for rescue, but for revelation.
You will not just receive blessings, you will manage them. You will not just walk through open doors, you will build inside them.
You are being prepared for visibility, but God is ensuring your character can hold the weight of exposure. The spotlight can burn those who enter it unprepared. prepared. That is why the shadows lasted so long, because your foundation needed depth.
What comes next will not be ordinary.
When God lifts you, He does not do so subtly. His blessing makes the humble undeniable.
So breathe.
Rest in the assurance that transformation is not something you must create. It is something you must cooperate with.
Heaven has already decided your elevation. Your only task is alignment. Let faith replace fear.
Let worship replace worry. The God who began this good work in you will not stop halfway.
When the shift becomes visible, and it will,
you will look around and realize that what once seemed delayed was simply developing. The story was never stalled, it was maturing. You were never forgotten, you were being fortified. And when you step across this threshold, nothing, and no one will be able to deny that it was God who did it.
The moment you have been sensing is drawing closer. What was once distant in prophecy is beginning to take form in reality.
You are no longer waiting for God to move. God is waiting for you to recognize that He already has. The atmosphere around you is thick with purpose. Heaven is leaning close, waiting to see if you will take the next step of faith. The invisible has been shifting for months, aligning every detail, and now the manifestation will begin to ripple through the visible.
This unfolding will not be loud at first. It will not come wrapped in fireworks or drama.
It will appear subtle, a phone call that opens a path, a conversation that changes direction, a door that swings wide with no effort. That is how divine timing reveals itself, through effortless acceleration. What once took years will happen in days, because time obeys the command of the Creator when destiny has matured. You will soon see evidence that what you believed was not in vain.
Every not yet from heaven will start to sound like now. Every prayer whispered in the dark will find its echo in daylight.
You will realize that God never ignored you. He was answering in advance, arranging everything so that when His yes came, it would not need to be delayed.
But hear me carefully, this moment of manifestation requires spiritual stability. The higher God takes you, the more you must stay grounded in humility.
Pride is the thief of permanence.
Many lose what they receive because they forget the posture that brought it.
Stay anchored in gratitude, for gratitude keeps the gates of blessing open.
Each thank you whisper is a key that unlocks tomorrow's door.
In this coming phase, discernment will be more valuable than excitement.
Not every opportunity will be divine. Some doors will open to test your motives, not to confirm your destiny. Learn to ask, does this draw me closer to peace or closer to pressure? Does this require compromise or cultivate character?
When something is truly from God, it aligns with both your spirit and your purpose. The right door carries peace, not panic.
You will notice certain relationships begin to shift. Some people will suddenly distance themselves without explanation. Do not chase them. God is clearing the stage so the next act of your story can unfold without interference.
Everyone cannot handle what God is about to place in your hands. Some who celebrated you in struggle will not be able to recognize you in success.
Bless them, release them, and move forward without bitterness. This next chapter will also require stewardship of your emotions. Joy is coming, but so is responsibility. Blessings demand management. Miracles demand maturity. Do not ask God for what you are not willing to sustain through obedience.
The measure of a faithful heart is not how loudly it praises when the miracle arrives, but how carefully it guards the miracle afterward.
And yet, this moment will not be without resistance. Whenever light breaks through, shadows protest.
Expect opposition, but do not fear it. The enemy has already been defeated. His only weapon now is distraction. He will attempt to stir confusion, to make you question what you heard. When that happens, remind yourself of the evidence, the peace, the confirmations, the sequence of divine coincidences that led you here. You did not arrive by accident, you were guided. When weariness whispers, return to worship. Worship recalibrates the soul. It shifts your focus from what is changing to the one who never changes. It is impossible to stay anxious while truly adoring God.
The atmosphere of worship is the atmosphere of victory. Every time you praise through uncertainty, you remind darkness that you are anchored beyond circumstance. You may wonder, why now? Why me?
Because the fullness of time has met the readiness of your heart. Heaven does not promote based on desire alone, it promotes based on development. God watched you stay faithful when there was nothing to gain. He saw you sow seeds of kindness when nobody thanked you. He saw you trust Him through storms that tried to break your spirit.
That faithfulness has become a fragrance that heaven could no longer ignore. The 24th will not simply mark a date, it will symbolize divine synchronization. Heaven's rhythm is meeting your reality.
You will begin to notice alignment in areas that once felt chaotic.
Finances that once leaked will stabilize. Relationships that once confused will clarify.
Health, energy, and focus will return like waves after a long drought.
But this is not only about outward blessings. The deeper miracle will be internal.
Peace will visit you in the places where anxiety used to reign.
Confidence will replace insecurity.
The constant fear of missing out will dissolve as you realize you were never behind, you were being positioned.
God's timing is surgical.
He cuts precisely, removing what hinders and preserving what heals.
Some of you will begin to hear from God more distinctly. Dreams will carry revelation. Scriptures will glow with meaning.
Words will meet you at perfect moments, confirming what your spirit already
sensed. This is not imagination, this is divine communication. God is speaking because he trusts you to listen.
When heaven reveals more, it is a sign that maturity has arrived.
There will also be a new boldness. The timid version of you that once second-guessed every step will fade.
You will move with quiet authority, not arrogance, but certainty.
The Spirit of God within you will produce a calm confidence, the kind that does not shout but shines. People will notice the difference without you needing to explain it. That is the mark of divine transformation, visibility without vanity. And as you walk into this unveiling, do not forget the purpose behind it. God is not blessing you to impress others.
He is blessing you to influence them, to become a living testimony that obedience still works, that faith still moves mountains, that waiting still yields miracles. You will become the proof that hope, when anchored in God, never dies.
Do not shrink from this responsibility.
Carry it with reverence.
You are stepping into answered prayers, not just your own, but the prayers of generations before you. Your life is about to become the continuation of promises whispered long ago. You are the evidence that God keeps his word. So stand firm. Keep your heart clean, your motives pure, and your spirit attentive. The promise is unfolding.
Heaven's timing and your obedience have met, and the result will be nothing short of miraculous.
You will not need to force it, defend it, or explain it. What is divine will announce itself through undeniable peace and unstoppable favor.
And when the manifestation arrives, when the weight lifts, when the doors open, when the breakthrough becomes visible, remember this: it was never about the blessing.
It was always about the builder. The same God who guided you here will sustain you there.
What begins in grace must continue in gratitude.
You are not entering an ending, you are stepping into evidence.
Now we stand at the closing of this message, but not the closing of your journey. The final lines of this word are only the beginning of your new chapter.
Heaven has orchestrated every moment that led you here, every delay, every loss, every miracle disguised as pain, and now, God is unveiling the reason behind it all. The days before the 24th are not meant to fill you with fear, they are meant to awaken awareness. You are not waiting for something random to happen. You are preparing to witness divine orchestration in motion.
The revelation is simple yet profound. God has not been silent, he has been strategic. What you thought was punishment was preparation. The pressure you felt was not meant to crush you but to crown you.
Every unanswered prayer was an invitation to deeper trust.
Every closed door was divine redirection, keeping you safe from rooms that could not sustain your destiny. And now, child of God, the curtain of confusion is lifting. You will begin to understand why certain things had to end, why certain people had to leave, and why certain prayers had to wait.
The Spirit will translate your past pain into present clarity. You will see that the wilderness was not wasted. It taught you dependence. It taught you endurance.
It taught you to hear God's whisper when every other voice fell silent.
The time of wandering has passed. You are no longer being trained for survival, you are being trusted with significance. The days ahead will not only reveal blessings but purpose. What you are about to receive will not merely comfort you, it will commission you. You were not chosen simply to be blessed, but to be a blessing, to carry the light of testimony into places where others have lost hope. When your breakthrough arrives, do not boast in your strength. Testify of his faithfulness.
Tell the world that you saw darkness, yet still believed, that you walked through fire and found peace in the flames, that you waited when waiting hurt, and discovered that patience was not punishment but protection. There is power in your story, but that power belongs to the one who wrote it.
Remember, favor without humility becomes a curse.
Let your heart stay bowed even when your hands are full.
Let gratitude be your language.
Speak often of what the Lord has done, not as performance but as worship.
Gratitude keeps miracles alive. The more you thank him for what is, the more he trusts you with what's next.
In this season, resist the temptation to compare.
Your journey is uniquely crafted. Do not look at someone else's chapter and measure your worth. You were never meant to compete, you were meant to complete.
The same God who is blessing others has blessings with your name etched into them. Rejoice when you see others rise. It is a sign that heaven is active in your neighborhood. Your turn is never delayed when you celebrate sincerely. As the 24th approaches, carry peace like a garment. The world will whisper panic, but peace is your prophecy. When chaos swirls, be still. When voices shout doubt, remain unmoved. You have seen too much of God's goodness to fear what is ahead. He did not bring you this far to abandon you at the threshold. The same hand that lifted you from despair will guide you into destiny. And when the shift happens, for it will, do not forget to pause. Take a breath and recognize his fingerprint on every detail. You will see his mercy in the timing, his wisdom in the detours, his love in the limits, his grace in the gain. Every chapter of your story, even the painful ones, will reveal itself as part of his perfect design.
You will find yourself saying, "Now I understand."
You will see that the nights you cried were not empty, they were exchanges. Every tear was traded for revelation.
Every sigh became a seed of strength.
What you thought broke you actually built you. The waiting forged you into the vessel that could carry this level of glory. And after the manifestation, when life begins to stabilize, do not drift from the presence that sustained you. Continue to seek him, not for what he gives, but for who he is. Blessings fade, but the giver remains eternal. The goal goal of this journey was never the miracle itself, it was intimacy with the miracle maker. When others ask you what changed, tell them, I stopped striving and started surrendering. I stopped fearing the unknown and started trusting the one who knows. That is true transformation, when faith becomes your reflex, not your last resort. Now lift your eyes, for the horizon before you glows with divine light.
The morning you prayed for is rising. The weight that once pressed on your soul is lifting.
You will soon walk through days so full of grace that your only response will be wonder. You will say, surely, the Lord has done this. But do not forget, every miracle carries a mission.
You were not chosen merely to receive this word, you were chosen to embody it. Become the reminder for someone else who feels forgotten.
Speak life where despair has taken root. Extend kindness where bitterness once reigned. Let your testimony be the spark that reignites faith in those who have grown cold.
This is how the kingdom expands, one awakened heart at a time. God did not choose you by accident.
He chose you because he could trust you to reflect his light without stealing his glory. You are his vessel, his voice, his evidence that grace still transforms. So, as this word closes, hear this final truth. You have not missed your moment, you are standing in it. The calendar of heaven is not late. The season has arrived. Walk into it with holy confidence. Step into it with gratitude, with humility, with joy.
The promises of God are not distant dreams. They are present realities unfolding even now. Go forward, child of destiny. Carry peace like armor. Let faith be your compass.
And when the 24th dawns and the shift becomes undeniable, remember that it was never luck, it was love. The creator of all things saw you, chose you, and prepared you for this very moment.
Now, breathe, smile, stand tall. You are ready.
Go, and live as proof that when God speaks, he fulfills.
When he promises, he performs. When he chooses, he completes.
And as you walk into the days ahead, may every step echo this eternal truth: you were chosen for such a time as this.